Can everybody hear me?
That's clear. How can you clear this?
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, Chairman.
Loud and clear.
I have 7:30. Call the meeting to order. We have a quorum.
Yes.
All right. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance now. Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America,
And to the
with the state and one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reggie, you want to do the roll call, please?
Yes. Supervisor Grady,
Here.
Rose,
Here.
Gentz,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
Sadicki,
Here.
Rodriguez,
Here.
O'Day,
Here.
Here.
Ron Frederick, Nudo,
Here.
Franco,
Here.
Boyd Frederick,
Here.
Mowers,
Here.
Tully,
Here.
Wimble,
Here.
Yuha,
Here.
Beth,
Here.
Honorville,
Here.
Nordigan,
Here.
Decker,
Here.
Balsky and Beatty are excused.
Okay.
Chairman O'Day,
Yes.
I've got a message from Supervisor Ron Frederick. He's having difficulty getting on.
Somebody work on that, Reggie?
Yes, I'm going to try to get Belinda his information.
Thank you. In the meantime, Dr. Croyhead on for a vaccination update program. I'm getting. Is Dr. Croyhead on?
I see her on.
Is she available at this point?
I'm here. It's not allowing me to mute or unmute. Somebody else is unmuting me finally. So thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Chairman O'Day, and all of you. Just to give you an update on vaccination efforts, we are now in our 5th week of vaccination for the health department, which means we just started our 2nd doses last week for those who got vaccinated in the week before New Year's. As a health department, we've now vaccinated over 3,000 people with their first dose and several hundred with their 2nd dose. There are 8 sites within Kenosha County at present day who are able to vaccinate, and that includes our 2 large healthcare systems, and a few others are also coming on board. So while there was a bit of a slow ramp up, we were able to really start getting into the 1A population, which is the healthcare providers, long-term care facilities. We reached about 30% of those. That was about 11,000 within Kenosha County. We reached 30% before we started seeing some of the demand fall off, and that was right about the time when the state opened up to do our law enforcement, corrections, and fire department staff. So we got a good portion of them in. And we were one of the first counties to get our EMTs. We have about 85% with the Kenosha Fire Department, about 70% with all of the other fire departments in the county. So really, really good numbers of vaccination rates there. And now with the 65 plus population, we have been doing them for a week starting tomorrow. And so we have been getting really good response, lots of people eager to come and get vaccinated. Our clinics have been flowing really smoothly and very efficiently, and we're getting people in and out in a safe manner. And so we continue to ask for as much vaccine as we can get. We are able to do about 1,000 a day. However, we are still at this point only getting about 2,000 a week. So we will continue to ask. The vaccine supply is low for the entire state, so that is part of the issue. But as soon as we can start getting more vaccine, we will do many more people. We are ready and willing to get going on that, and it's been a really positive experience.
Anything else?
Chairman O'Day, I have some questions, if you're opening it for questions. This is Supervisor Decker.
Dr. For having finished with your presentation.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, hold on now. Go ahead. Supervisor Decker.
Thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Freiheit. So I'm just verifying that we are getting 1,000 doses a week, but we're getting 2,000 a week, but we're able to do 1,000 a day.
We could, with the staffing model that we have prepared and the space and the materials and resources we have, we could potentially get up to 1,000 a day at this point, and potentially more in the future. It's just a matter of the state is only sending us, this week they sent us 2,000, last week was 1,900. So around 2,000 each week.
And I'm assuming you're asking for more, they're just not.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So I was just on the county website with the sign-up genius, and I see that you did increase the number of people from 18 every 15 minutes to 30. Is that part of your ramp-up?
I'm sorry, what?
So I went to the county website actually during the Human Services meeting earlier because I don't know, I just did. And the sign-up genius part, during the Human Services meeting, there were actually slots available, and now there aren't. But I had noticed that a couple days ago I had logged on, and for the 3rd, which is tomorrow, there were 18 slots available, which were the maximum. Now they're up to 30. Is that because
I see
more doses, or you're also able to handle more, or both, or a combination?
Correct. So we have, today was the first day, for example, that we ran the Tuesday clinic, and we wanted to see what kind of numbers, and we had relatively low throughput today. So that allowed us to be able to add more onto tomorrow and Friday. So that's the reason why you saw that increase.
Low what? I'm sorry?
Throughput, just the amount of people that we had coming through today. It was our first Tuesday clinic. So people in the community have been used to us just running on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay. And are you only, because there's 7 days a week, are you only running 3 days because that's the supply you're getting?
Correct.
Okay. And what, I'm going to come back to the sign-up genius because I had questions when I had logged on and it was full a couple days ago, but what is Kenosha County's goal for the number or percentage of people vaccinated throughout the entire county?
Correct. So our herd immunity goal is 75%. Obviously, 80% is even better. But at 75%, that's 127,500 Kenosha County residents that we want to get vaccinated as quickly as possible so that we can reach that herd immunity and start to get some normalcy back to life.
And when do you hope or project that you'll be able to get that number or close to it?
My hope is totally different than what my hope is by summertime, right? It all depends on the federal supply that's coming into the state, and that's impossible to predict right now. So we are ready, and we are ready to ramp up and make that happen faster. It's all hinging on that vaccine supply.
Okay, and I've read articles where the state has allotted numbers, but they're not asking for their allotted numbers. They're they're getting less than what they're allotted. Is that part of the problem?
I don't know what the national algorithm is for why Wisconsin's not getting the amount that we're asking for. And yeah, the demand is 4 times as high within the state than what the state has in supply.
So say that again. The demand is 4 times as high as what the state has on hand.
Yep.
But that's what's on hand, not what the federal government is saying that their allotment is.
So what the state has on hand is what the federal government is allotting to the state.
That's not what I've read in articles, though. Have you heard that at all?
No, I guess I would have to look at what you're referencing.
Okay. All right. Let me. So back to the. What do you think weekly our maximum capacity is once you're up and running and can get as much vaccine as you could get?
So just as a health department, which we're only one of the vaccinators, we are preparing for clinics the size of 2,700 people per day.
Okay.
And certainly once we test that throughput and the demand, we could certainly adjust to higher depending upon space and resource limitations and staffing limitations. So that's the level we're shooting for, is 2,700 a day.
And that's just Kenosha County. That's not Walgreens and the hospitals. That's just
the health department. Yep.
Okay. So now going back to the sign-up Genius, because earlier, like yesterday, I was on there and all the slots were full. And then when I was on today during the Human Services meeting, there were actually openings because they expanded it to 30 per time slot. Now they're full again. What happens? How does someone that wants to sign up when it's full, do they just have to, is there a process for them to get on a list, or do they just have to continually check the website to see if there's slots that open?
Yep, great question. So unfortunately right now it's people hitting refresh and checking back often. However, we are ramping up a county call center to be able to take people, especially those 65 plus who don't have internet access or email, to be able to get them appointments right away. So that is coming very, very soon.
Okay, I know you before have had a Google sign-up form. Do you send out, have those people been, because that was early in the stage, because I know I had sent that to a couple of my constituents right away when they were talking that 1Bs were going to be able to get their vaccinations. Did you use that information and call them to set them up first, or how was that information used?
We did. So we didn't call them, but we utilized their email because people signed up on the form, and we sent mass emails to announce our clinics before they were ever put live onto the county website. So we had about 3 weeks there where we were sending them just the people who had signed up the link to allow them to have access, and now it's publicly available, as you saw on the website.
Okay, so the people that had signed up kind of got in before it went live to the general public?
They had the opportunity, I should say, yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, are there any West End locations outside of what I've heard is Walgreens that will be doing this? Anything through the county or any other businesses?
Currently right now there are not, which is a vaccine desert. That's a problem, and we are working on plans to mitigate that. So it all hinges on the amount of vaccine coming.
When you say we, are you saying the
health department?
Also the health department, or also private business, the Walgreens and other businesses like that, Aurora and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't have their plans for the West yet, but the health department definitely is.
Okay, you're just speaking to the health department. Okay. Are we giving vaccines, and this has to do with the Alex Lasry revelation up in Milwaukee, are we giving vaccines to people not in 1A and 1B? So there inevitably will be people that slip through because, for example, we are not checking credentials. So if somebody says, hey, I'm a nurse or, I'm a healthcare worker,
we are taking their word for that, that they have signed up as a 1A participant, and that they, you know, are who they say they are. So inevitably, I'm sure that some are slipping through, but that is where, you know, we are making sure to the best of our ability that we are hitting those priority populations.
Okay. So we're not verifying if they're 1A or 1B. If they sign up and they're not, we're giving them vaccines anyway?
Correct.
Okay. And then this question I got from a constituent. They saw some people commenting on Facebook that do not live in Kenosha County that have come here and got vaccinations. Are we vaccinating people outside of Kenosha County? Are we supposed to be, or?
So there is no rule against it. However, we are very much heavily advertising if you live or work in Kenosha County. And just because we live on the border, we know several people who work in Kenosha County, but may live right over the border and whatnot. And we are vaccinating people who live and or work in Kenosha County because of the fact that they could be spreading COVID around our residents by working here. So.
Okay. So there's no like rule that they have to live in Kenosha County. Okay. And it doesn't matter state to state either?
Do you mean like if Illinois has the same? I'm not sure what their
No. It county, and then state to state is okay that someone from Illinois comes here, and vice versa. Someone from Wisconsin goes to Illinois and gets their vaccination?
Correct.
Oh, that's okay? Okay. I will let them know that. How many people are ready to get the second dose? And what's the process for that? How do they sign up online like everyone else, or do they?
No, we have a separate sign-up genius just for to guarantee second dose spots. And so, for example, we had 350 people get their second doses last week, 400 this week, simply because we got 400 doses the first week of January. So they get a separate email, separate sign-up link to guarantee them a spot, and they are coming into the clinic with all the first dosers, but we have processes by which we separate them.
Okay, so the website that I was looking at, that's supposed to be for first doses only?
Correct.
After a special one? Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know that they don't have to sit and wait kind of like everyone else.
Exactly.
Now, once a vial of vaccine is open or thawed out or, whatever, how long is it good for?
So it depends on the type of vaccine. For example, right now we have Moderna. Once we pop a vial, it has 6 hours. So hence some of that, we want to make sure that we're not filling syringes unless we have the people in front of us. You know what I mean? Like we're not pre-filling at the beginning of a clinic morning because we don't want any of that to go to waste should there be no shows or something like that.
Okay. And again, this is based on the Alex Lastry thing. What is the process of giving away extra doses that would spoil? Do we have a process for that?
So the process is really at the end of a clinic is where, so for example, the Pfizer we're only supposed to be able to pull 5. We've been able to pull 6 or 7 doses out of those vials. Sometimes with Moderna, it's supposed to be 10. Sometimes it ends up being 11. There's extra in there. And so, the biggest sin is to waste any. We want to make sure that we get vaccines in arms. We have not, as a county, wasted any doses. At the end of the day, we're definitely able to try to find other 1A healthcare providers or people that can that happen to be in line as walk-ins or whatnot to be able to get the vaccine that might be left over. So it's literally under 6 or 10.
You're cutting out.
It's just. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's just a few doses at the end of the day that we want to make sure we get in arms.
Okay. There's no, you're not, the health department isn't calling businesses or anything to get people in?
Well, yeah, if they're 1A businesses. So, for example, hospice or transportation or private clinician offices, we will sometimes call them knowing that they have extra staff that didn't make it in before to make sure that they get in.
Clinics as in health clinics that people are 1A or 1B?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You answered. You last 6 hours. How long does the Pfizer one last?
The Pfizer one, I believe, is 3 hours. Don't quote me on that. We've only had Pfizer for 1 week, so I will get you that answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Say this thing, Erin?
Mr. Chairman, this is Supervisor Rodriguez. I have some questions myself, if you'd allow.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Dr. Freiheit, you had mentioned that when we're fully ramped up, the county, through our resources with the health department, could do upwards of 2,700 vaccine, shots in arms per day. What does that look like? I mean, is that the drive-through similar to the COVID testing, or is it coming into the health department? Can you describe that a little bit?
Right. So we are looking at drive-through models. We're looking at larger facility models. And so we are planning around a whole host of those. We're also looking at the education sector and how we're going to, when March 1st opens up for the education sector, how we'll do our districts. And so it's a whole host of different clinic models that we can be looking at. It might not just be one clinic. There might be simultaneous clinics going on. So it all, again, depends on the vaccine supply and then who is eligible at that time.
Okay. And then just to go over for anybody listening tonight, or anybody who might watch or listen to this later on, who's currently eligible? The 65-plus group, first responders, frontline workers, in healthcare. Is there anybody else that I'm missing outside that nutshell?
No, there are quite a few in that 1A healthcare provider, and that includes everybody from caregivers to social workers, speech therapists, clinicians, long-term care facility workers and residents. And then the law enforcement, corrections, and fire department were added from the 1B category, and the 65-plus, which was technically 1C and 1B in the original plan. So those are all the ones that are able to get vaccine right now.
Okay. And you mentioned the vaccine desert. So if I'm remembering correctly from last night in our Public Works meeting, Ray was telling us that he had worked with your team to kind of put in plans, so hopefully put in motion down the road, vaccine distribution sites. Is that your understanding as well, or was I lost? Okay.
Absolutely. We've been working with all the county partners, and everybody's been amazing at helping jump into the game and help us figure all of that out.
Okay. And then moving back towards the west end, so through the chair, either to Dr. Freiheit or even to any of my colleagues who represent the west end, forgive me, but I'm not sure I could name a hospital out, past the interstate. So, what are the facilities out there that are distributing the vaccine out there on the west end for our residents out there?
So as of right now, not much. However, we're also working with the Kenosha Community Health Center, our FQHC, as they have a mobile van. So that's part of the planning as well, too, to ensure that we can get the mobile van around the parts of the community. The Kenosha Community Health Center just got approved last week to be a vaccine provider, so they have not received any vaccine yet. So that will be coming in the future.
Okay. And then you mentioned that we had 6 hours for Moderna, and you said, you believe 3 hours for the Pfizer vaccine. Is this a vaccine that once taken out of cold storage can go back into cold storage, or no? Once it's out, it has to be used?
So once the vaccine vial has been opened, it cannot go back in. But if it's, let's say, Moderna's been taken out of the freezer, it can, after a period of time, or not longer than a period of time, can go back into the refrigerator. And then they all have different time frames to be in the freezer, 30 days within the refrigerator. We're going through all vaccines by, Friday, close of business. So on the weekends, we have nothing left in storage in either freezer or refrigerator anyway. But yeah, it can last that long.
Okay. And then Jen, or Dr. Freiheit, excuse me, I'm not sure if you can answer this. This might be a question through the chair to Corp Counsel. But you noted, Dr. Freiheit, that we're essentially using the trust system, the honor system, for those who claim to be parts of the different categories set by the state. Is there something, an ordinance we could pass that there would be repercussions for those who falsify their credentials, so to speak? Because I know we've seen that in the news. In New York, there was a cyclist or something, like a group fitness instructor who said she was a teacher. And there was a lot of backlash for that because, I can only speak for myself, but I think my colleagues, most of the community would agree that, those frontline workers, those who are most at risk for either transmission or, they're, falling ill to COVID, that, they should get that first. So is that something we can do? I think that's probably a question for the chair of Corp Council, if you could answer that for me.
Corp Council, did you hear that?
I did, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Rodriguez, it's something I would have to explore. It's certainly not a thought that had occurred to me prior to this evening. There'd be some very interesting aspects, I think, in terms of trying to determine what sort of proof would be needed, et cetera. But I can certainly make a note and see whether that's something that might be feasible.
Okay. And then I think that's it. That's all I have. So thank you, Corp Council, and thank you, Dr. Frey.
Thank you. Any other questions of Dr. Frey?
Actually have one more.
Go ahead.
Erin Decker.
Supervisor Decker.
This made me, Supervisor Rodriguez's comment made me think this. Have you contacted any of the churches? A lot of them, mine included, have large, areas where they could set up clinics.
Yeah, so we are beginning planning for that. No, we have not contacted them yet, simply, again, because of the vaccine supply issue. But we are working on how can we, A, work through the churches to get people signed up for appointments, especially those that don't have internet or email access. And then, B, how can we work through a mobile vaccination clinic to do on-site things. So those are all in the planning and in the works. We're especially looking at the equity issues. And how we can get some vulnerable populations, or undocumented residents, or people of color, and those who, quite honestly, have trust in government issues, and how we can increase the efficacy and the lower the vaccine hesitancy there. So lots of different plans in the works for that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions of Dr. Frey? Hearing none, we're going to move on to citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments?
I have Angela waiting.
Reggie,
Yes,
there's one commenter.
there's two comments, and IT has Angela Cunningham waiting to speak.
Okay. Anyone that's registered to speak has an opportunity to speak for 5 minutes, providing their name and address for the record. Refrain from using any vulgar or profane language. Avoid any attacks, threats, or comments directed at individuals. Under the Open Meetings Law, according to the Corporation Council, the board cannot respond directly to any comments made or ask not to request that we do so. Failure to follow these guidelines may result in being cut off. Citizens can now comment. Who do you have first?
Good evening. My name is Angela Cunningham. I reside at 4040 Washington Road, apartment 208 in Kenosha. I am a candidate for Kenosha County Circuit Court Judge Branch 6, and I'm here today just to introduce myself to you and my campaign to you. I am a defense attorney and guardian ad litem with my own practice here in Kenosha. I grew up in western Kenosha County. I am a proud graduate of Wilmot Union High School. My family and I moved to Trevor, Wisconsin when I was just 12 years old, where we helped build our first home through Habitat for Humanity. After high school, I went away to college and became pregnant with my son after my first year. I came back to Kenosha to figure out what I wanted to do with my career and my future, and that's when I decided to transfer to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I obtained my undergraduate degree in social welfare and women's studies, and I have a master's degree in social work. After graduating from UW-Madison, I came back to Kenosha and worked in social services for several years. I worked in the office of the director at the Kenosha County Department of Human Services, evaluating programs in the Department of Human Services and helping write grants. Then I went on to be the executive director of the ELCA Outreach Center, which at that time was located in the basement of Grace Lutheran Church. While I was at the Outreach Center, I worked with a lot of individuals who were low income, a lot of people who were homeless, a lot of people who were one paycheck away from being homeless. And I realized that they had a lot of legal issues that were further compounding their already fragile situation. So it was at that time that I decided that I wanted to go to law school so that I could come back to our community and help provide legal services and help to people who otherwise couldn't afford to hire an attorney. By this time, my son was about 10 years old. I applied to Northwestern University. They were trying out a 2-year accelerated JD program. I was accepted into the program, and so I picked my son up and we moved to downtown Chicago so I could complete my law degree. After law school, I came back to Kenosha and did exactly what I set off to law school to do. I started working at Legal Action of Wisconsin, where I was representing victims of domestic violence and family law actions. After Legal Action, I went on to work at a pro se clinic at the Milwaukee Justice Center for a couple years, and then went on to the district attorney's office in Milwaukee. I was commuting back and forth during the time that I was working in Milwaukee, and I really did not. I worked long hours, especially when I was at the district attorney's office, and I really did not like the fact that it took me out of the Kenosha community. So I was not able to be involved and active as I had been previously. So then that's when I made the decision to open up my own firm so that I could both live and work in Kenosha. Throughout all of my time in school and throughout my career, I've always made it a priority to be actively involved in my community. I currently sit on the board of directors for Catholic Charities. I've previously been on the board for Hope Council and the Kenosha Community Health Center. I also participate in a number of coalitions and community organizations because I'm always striving to make my community better. So now I'm running for judge because I want to use my breadth of personal and professional experiences, both as a single mom who's had to struggle and had times where I've had to figure out how to get from one paycheck to the next paycheck, but also my professional experiences both working in social services and in various areas of the law to ensure justice for all in Kenosha. Also, if elected judge, I would make history as the first Black judge to sit on the bench in Kenosha. Election time is now. You can request your absentee ballot. If you haven't done so already, you have until February 11th to request that. In-person early voting started today and goes through till next Friday. And of course, election day for the primary is on February 16th. I invite everyone to visit my website at voteforcunningham.com to learn more about me and my background. And thank you for your time, and I hope I can count on your votes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who do we have next?
My name is Joe Malagora. I reside in Harbor Park, District 1. 284 deaths in Kenosha County due to COVID-19. U.S. death toll has climbed past 440,000, with 95,000 plus lives lost in January alone. Deaths are running about 3,150 per day on average. Deaths are not the only issue with COVID-19. Lifelong physical and mental issues for hundreds of thousands of Americans are the result from people not doing the right things to stop the spread. For some, it will take getting seriously ill or having someone you love get sick or die before you will make the right decisions to help stop the spread. And yet, there are members of this board of supervisors who disregard this information. The reason? From what I can gather, it is one of two. You don't want to embrace the technology for meeting virtually, and this is self-serving, not public serving. Or two, the political party you identify with is against anything that supports slowing the spread of the virus. It is far beyond time for this to stop. You were voted into this office to be a public servant. Please serve the public, not yourself. Please read Chapter 59 of the state statutes. There you will find that the people you serve expect and deserve you to act in the following manner. Someone's got their mic on. Do you have something to say over me? The people you serve expect and deserve you to act in the following manner. Professional in attire and speech. Be respectful to each other and the public. Be nonpartisan. Free from personal issues. Act as leaders. Have the best of the interest of the county citizens in mind. If you're planning to support meeting in person, please consider the following. You will give the community a place to gather in a space too small for social distancing, where facial coverings are not worn or not worn properly by some members of the community and some board members. You will force non-board members who serve the county board to risk being exposed to the disease without the ability to say no. These non-board members who serve you are real people who have personal concerns for their health and that of their families. It is irresponsible of you to create a health risk for the following people: the county clerk, her staff, corporation counsel, IT personnel, sheriff deputies, custodians. Bringing the motion forward or voting yes on it is irresponsible and shows a lack of concern for others. Virtual meetings can work when board members set aside their own issues for the good of the people they serve. Citizens have numerous ways of safely communicating their concerns to this board. You can meet in person with members of the community by hosting a listening session. I urge you to vote no on the motion to discontinue meeting virtually. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other commentators?
Chairman O'Day, that is all we have.
Okay, thank you. There were none that were sent in?
There were no emails sent.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any announcements myself, but I would like to turn the mic over to Mark Nordican at this time. Mark, are you there?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a bit of bad news happen this past Sunday. Without going into too much detail, Supervisor Wenke had a exceedingly serious accident at home. Outside of getting to a local hospital, they moved him up to Milwaukee Hospital, where he had some very, very serious surgery yesterday. Right now, we don't know the ins and outs of what's going to happen with him. I'm going to assume this month probably is a wash, but hopefully in the next week or two we'll know more. Out of respects for Chris, his wife, and his family, that's about all I can tell you about it. And I would hope that we would all keep him in our thoughts and our prayers, as well as his family and Chris, his wife. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate those words. We should all think about that, keep them in our prayers, because you never know when something like this can happen to anybody, anytime, anywhere. So we wish him well, of course. At this point, are there any Supervisor Committee Chair reports?
Yes, for Judiciary and Law, I just want everyone to know we'll be doing an update on body cams tomorrow evening at 6:30.
Okay, that it?
I have a report, Mr.
Chairman?
Yes? Who's talking?
Supervisor Grady has a report.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was last evening that we had our Public Works Committee meeting. quite a list of things to go through. The first on our agenda for last night was golf division and the setting of the 2021 golf rates. I'm pleased to tell you that those golf rates are essentially unchanged from last year. They are the same as you had in the past with no modification to the pricing. There may be some small details worked out in terms of reservations and other things, but those are relatively minor. And of course, the committee will be apprised of that as we go forward. In terms of the golf reservations for golf leagues, Pets is completely full at 420 league reservations. Brightondale does have some openings, but it is looking good for the division of golf. Talking about highways, we have a resolution that was passed last night, and it has to do with County DV, which I think you may know is the county road that goes along the north portion of Brightondale. And what is happening there is there's going to be some infrastructure work done requiring County Road DV to be torn up and for some power distribution items to be placed along the about two linear miles. So we are going to get a grant from Wisconsin Energies to make those repairs, and then the road will be resurfaced after that. We have other things in the division report. Of course, the recent snowfalls, which back-to-back, rather rapid fashion, seem to have been handled rather well by the Highways Division. We have quite a few new workers for the Highways Division. They're learning some of the skills necessary to operate the equipment and to bring us up to speed during these winter times. The other thing to bring forward is about some of the items going on Highway 50. That will be a construction project that will begin in earnest this coming spring and summertime. Right now, they are going to be doing some culvert work, mainly at night, mainly in times where it does not affect regular traffic. So if you see some traffic changes and so forth in the off hours, that is the groundwork that will happen this spring. And as the staging develops, as the specifics come forward, we will bring you up to speed on that. Highway 142, the winter scenario is in place where the lanes are marked. You're going to have the same situation now as you'll see through the springtime. There'll be no changes. There are lanes open in each direction. Trying to think if there's anything else for highways. There probably are, but we're going to move on to facilities. And downtown with the administration building, we're on phase 3 of 4 for heat pump replacements in that building. For the detention center, we're doing some sealant work that replaces some of the older, it's actually kind of a fancy caulking or composite material that goes between the cement facades to keep the building integrity proper. We have some detention center piping and coupling that's going on. And what else is happening with facilities? That's it for that part. Taking a look at, also, I wanted to mention downtown, we have the Civic Center campus. The 3 buildings which should be to the west of the administration building where we have met in the past, there's a parking lot there. Those 3 buildings have been acquired by the county. They will be raised, and eventually a parking lot will take its place. There are security modifications planned for the Kenosha County Administration building lobbies, the area that you're familiar with the county clerk, treasurer, register of deeds, and so forth. They will have some upgrades. In the building, which is the courthouse, there's quite a little shuffle going on. There's going to be juvenile intake, district attorney, corporation counselor, all being shuffled and moved around to maximize space. And if you want the specifics on that, we can give them to you. Talking about the Parks Division, which comes up next, we accept a resolution to accept money from the government for last year's January storm in the Kemper area. As you recall, about 1,450 feet of lakeshore had substantial damage, as did the multi-use path that goes along there. And we could not get the large amount of funding we were hoping for from FEMA but we did get $54,000 that will help us to remediate that area. In the closing remarks here, one thing, Veterans Park, we have a new kiosk that's on the west end, and it was done as part of an Eagle Scout project. So if you are in the eastern portion of the park, right around that lake area, the main park, you'll see a kiosk that was an Eagle Scout project. Turned out very nicely. Last thing I'll touch on is the area at Kemper. We have 16 out of 22 rentals that are somewhat like artist lofts, whatever you want to call them. And then finally, the project which has unified the county in terms of the communications, different towers that we have, that has all been to fruition. It's all efficient, and the punch card items have been completed. That is my report for this month. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other supervisor chairman reports?
Mr. Chair, this is Supervisor Rodriguez. I do.
Supervisor Rodriguez, you have a question?
No, I've got some comments. Just talking with staff since our last meeting. So thank you. I just wanted to touch again on the downtown campus. I had the opportunity to speak with Mike Trent, our facilities director, and asked him when the boards will be removed from the buildings downtown because of the quite extensive damage. He noted that they're currently going through the bid process or very early stages of that, and he's hoping to have those boards down and windows replaced early summer, late spring, if it's hope. However, there is a national glass shortage, is what he told me, and he's not sure. So hopefully sooner rather than later, we can join most of the downtown businesses who have taken their boards down. And then lastly, I want to thank K-Tech School here in Kenosha, both of their campuses, for allowing me the opportunity to speak with their 8th grade social studies students via Zoom, a little bit about what we do here at the county level and how they can get involved. And just want to shout out Mr. Ward and Ms. Goins, especially so for setting that up. I appreciate that. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Chairman O'Day.
Yes.
Supervisor Kubicki.
Supervisor Kubicki.
I'd just like to make one small clarification to Supervisor Grady's report. It's 16 of 20 art studios are rented, not 22. 16 of 20.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good number.
That's a real good number. Very good.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other reports?
Yeah, Chairman O'Day.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Uhas.
Supervisor Uhas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Pringle Nature Center Board of Directors met for its quarterly meeting on Wednesday, January 20th via Zoom. I wanted to take this opportunity to share information that was discussed and presented at this meeting. The Pringle Nature Center has submitted for a grant regarding eco-caching, and we're in the process of submitting for a Bird City grant. Also, Uline has become a corporate sponsor, and we have been given $25,000 in a shopping opportunity to pick out items from the Uline catalog. The board of directors and the naturalists are in the process of reviewing items for the Nature Center. As you can imagine, with all the snow we've been experiencing, the snowshoe rental is going very well. Regarding memberships, we currently have 111 memberships, and some memberships have renewed to an increased level of their membership, as well as an increase in memberships overall. Membership benefits include waived or reduced rates on most public programs, as well as free snowshoe and GPS unit rentals as available, 25% off summer camps for children, 25% off children's birthday parties, and then you also receive a seasonal newsletter and event update. Membership levels for individuals are $20, families $35, a prairie is $50, wetland $100, savanna $250, and a lifetime is $500. Work will continue removing buckthorn, multiflora rose, honeysuckle, and box elder on Saturday, March 27th. The work will include continuing to clear the area behind the building and expand onto the Yellow Trail. Some upcoming events. Today started the Groundhog Day celebration. As we all know, we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. So this year, participants can celebrate in Groundhog Day virtually, starting on February 2nd. Through the 8th of February, our program will include a special Groundhog Day story time with Miss Tracy, Groundhog Craft, and an appearance by Pringle's own procrastinator, Bristol Bob. Participants will also be able to walk the Groundhog Trail in Bristol Woods. There is a fee for this. It's $5 for the general public, and for the Friends of Pringle, $3.75. On February 13th, there's a Valentine's candlelight hike from, you can do it at 6:30, 7, or 7:30. The cost is $6 for the general public, and Friends of Pringle is $4.50. This event is almost sold out. And then also through the end of the month, there's a winter animal scavenger hunt. Several animals have been spotted wandering around Bristol Woods County Park. Can you help find all 8 of them and track them on the trails? You can use the Nature Center app, or you could go to the website. One lucky winner who posts a photo of their adventure will win a coupon for $20 towards a Pringle Nature Center program, rental, or special event. Again, I'd like to remind everyone that the Pringle Nature Center is a regional resource where people of all ages can experience nature, environmental education, conservation, and stewardship, and in doing so, be inspired to become responsible stewards of the environment. We do this by putting people in touch with nature. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Byrd.
All right, thank you. Business real quick. We had Human Services Committee meeting today. You already heard what Dr. Freiheit had to say in terms of her updates. We had a Kenosha County Equity Efforts update from Supervisor Gully, and most of you, if not all of you, should have an invite for tomorrow's meeting. We also had a presentation from Nina Taylor. One of the biggest takeaways from that is that there will be an ending. There was an EBT increase, 15% for food and whatnot. That's going to end, I think, June 2021. She will email us so that we can inform our constituents of when that deadline is, so that they, if they see a change in their EBT dollar amount, they know why. She also expressed United Way does a VITA. I don't know offhand what VITA stands for, VITA, but they are doing tax returns for individuals that make up to $57,000 a year. Also, I had presented a couple weeks ago, or informed you guys that I did a free thing for a reason for Grace Welcome Center. We did raise over 8,000 pounds of perishables. We raised over $11,000 for the roof repair, which will also roll into any leftovers will go into the Welcome Center. And to Supervisor Uhas, or Vice Chair Uhas, that was Punxsutawney Phil that saw his shadow for 6 more weeks, but Jimmy, the groundhog from Wisconsin, Sun Prairie, did see his shadow, so we should have a early spring. So I'm done.
Thank you. Any other supervisor comments or reports? Seeing none, we'll go to old business.
Old business, ordinance 27, second reading to required. From the Public Works Facilities Committee, an ordinance to enact a 4-way stop at the intersection of County Trunk Highway K and County Trunk Highway B in the town of Brighton in the village of Paddock Lake. From Public Works and Facilities Committee, Brady I, Franco I, Belsky I, Palmerville I, Rodriguez I, Needle excused.
Supervisor Grady.
Move the resolution.
A motion by Supervisor Grady and a second by Supervisor Franco. Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may know, this is the corner of essentially 6th Street, which is County K, and County Highway Trunk B in the town of Brighton, the village of Paddock Lake. This has rather poor sight lines. If you've been out in the area, you can see with the elevation, topography, and so forth, that it is ripe for accidents. There have been accidents in the area, and we would prefer that this area be made more safer. So after doing the appropriate amount of study, review, it passed our committee, we'd ask your approval this evening.
Any discussion?
Chairman O'Day, this is Supervisor Decker.
Supervisor Decker.
I would just like to let everyone know I support this ordinance. I have had numerous contacts over the years about this intersection, about many accidents and many near misses. I've had a near miss there, and the four-way stop, I haven't heard anyone complain about it. They all are in favor of it, residents out here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll take a vote on it. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, so carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
New business, ordinance, one reading. Ordinance 28 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding HCP2 LLC owner, Jeff Badke agent, requests an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035. Map 54 of the comprehensive plan from farmland protection, general agricultural and open land, and SEC to general agricultural and open land, rural density residential, and SEC in Town of Brighton. From the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, Gashke, I, Rodriguez, I, Mauer, I, Beth, I, Noodle, excused.
Supervisor Gashke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ordinance 28.
I have a motion by Supervisor Gashke, second by Supervisor Mauer. Supervisor Gashke on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have several ordinances and a resolution all relating to this particular property. As the clerk mentioned, this is near the southwest corner of 288th Avenue and 52nd Street. This particular ordinance is just a comprehensive planned amendment, and it would allow for some changes to the comprehensive plan. The Town of Brighton recommended approval, as well as our committee, and we ask for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Anybody against, nay? Motion carried. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 29 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding HCP2 LLC owner, Jeff Badke agent, requests a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District and C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District to A2 General Agricultural District, R1 Rural Residential District, and C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District, Town of Brighton. From the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, Gashke, I, Rodriguez, I, Mauer, I, Beth, I, Noodle, excused.
Supervisor Gashke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ordinance 29.
The motion by Supervisor Gashke, second by Supervisor Beth. Supervisor Gashke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is the same property that we just voted on with ordinance 28, the comprehensive plan amendment. Ordinance 29, which is before us now, it's simply a rezoning, and this would allow 3 lots that would be approximately 9 acres each, and one additional, a larger lot that would be approximately 30 acres. Again, the Town of Brighton recommends this, and our committee does as well, and we ask for your support.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any nays? Ayes have it. So moved. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 30 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Rose B. Vintucci Trust and Caroline H. Donnelly Farm Living Trust owners. Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee sponsor, requesting an amendment of the Shoreland District boundaries in the Town of Randall. From Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, Gashke, I, Mauer, I, Beth, I, Rodriguez, I, Noodle, excused.
Supervisor Gashke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ordinance 30.
It's been moved by Supervisor Gashke and a second by Supervisor Rodriguez. Supervisor Gashke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, this particular property is different than the last two that we just talked about. This is located near the intersection of County Highway Z and County Highway C. And all that this is doing is rezoning a shoreline boundary. It's bringing this property into conformity with reality. All of the surrounding properties are a part of this shoreline boundary, and this small area here has not been a part of that, even though it technically should be. And so, again, this rezoning is simply bringing the current situation in line with the surrounding properties. Our committee, as well as the residents in that area, support this, and we ask for your support as well.
Any discussion?
I have a comment, Supervisor Nordigan.
Go ahead. Mark, go ahead. Mr.
Chair, through to Chairman Gasky, I guess, of the Planning Committee. I think, didn't Andy say that this was more or less just a map correction? It should have always been on. It just was really just correcting the map, correct?
Exactly. Yes, that is correct. So that's what I was kind of saying. It's just bringing this in conformity with reality. So making sure that our map is accurate. So yeah, thanks for that clarification, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Motion carried. Thank you.
Resolution, one reading, 71 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, a resolution regarding HCP2 LLC owner, Jeff Adke agent, requests an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 54 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland protection, general agricultural and open land, and SEP to general agricultural and open land, rural density, residential, and SEC to the town of Brighton. Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, Gashke, I, Mauer, I, Beth, I, Rodriguez, I, Nudo, excused.
Supervisor Gashke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Resolution 71.
A motion by Supervisor Gashke, second by Supervisor Mauer. Supervisor Gashke on the motion.
Thank you. All right, so this is the same property that two of our ordinances reference. It's kind of a three-part process. It's all part of the same goal. And the reason that this resolution is before us tonight is simply because the state of Wisconsin requires a resolution both from our committee as well as from the full county board, a resolution and an ordinance to be able to make this type of amendment to the comprehensive plan. So again, this is in line with the other two ordinances that we discussed and voted on. The town of Brighton approved it, and we ask for your support as well.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. Thank you.
Motion to lift the resolution to meet virtually and go back to meeting in person at KCJC.
Supervisor Gentz.
On the item.
Second. Point of information, Mr. Chairman. Gabe Nudo.
Who did the second?
Cherry Rose.
Okay. Supervisor Nudo.
Yeah, I have a question. It is my understanding that the only, first of all, who is bringing this up for reconsideration?
Repeat the question.
Who is bringing, which supervisor has to bring this for reconsideration?
First of all, it's not a reconsideration. It's when we created the resolution back in the beginning, it was something that was put right into that resolution that we could revisit this. So this isn't what was on the agenda before. So this is something that the resolution that we initially put out allows us to do. So it doesn't need to be reconsidered.
Well, we took a vote on the last meeting, it's my understanding, maybe to Corporation Counsel, to the chair. We took a vote on the last meeting, so my understanding, according to the way I read it from a couple of opinions received from Corporation Counsel, that the only ones that can bring this to be reconsidered and we vote on it is someone from the winning side.
And Supervisor, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Nudo, Supervisor Gentz is correct. This is not a reconsideration. The matter that was before, the matter that was voted on by the board 2 weeks ago was an amended motion to move to a hybrid form of meetings to allow people to either attend in person or to attend virtually as they preferred. That was voted on by the board. It was acted on. I believe it would be out of order to bring that before the board again without a reconsideration motion. However, the board did not vote on a motion to simply end the suspension of the rules and return to in-person meetings.
Okay, which just to follow up on that, basically, so if it was a reconsideration, then a member of the winning side would have to bring that up before it could be discussed, correct? Again, this is for corporation.
Supervisor Noodle, this has nothing to do with what you're asking.
Yes, it is. Because
no, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, I kind of disagree, even though the Corporation Council say that. My question is, if it is reconsideration, if it is a reconsideration,
this is not the same motion. It's not the same motion at all. It's totally different.
Well, I kind of disagree.
I'm going to move on, okay?
Can I have
I'm going to move on to the next person. I'll come back to you.
Mr. O'Day, this is
yes.
Chairman O'Day, Supervisor.
There was somebody before you. Was it Ron Frederick or somebody else? Supervisor Decker.
Thank you, Chairman O'Day. I'd like to amend the motion to allow a hybrid model of committee and board meetings. Those wishing to meet virtually may do so, and those wishing to meet in person may do so. This model will be in place until the end of April, when the board will decide how to proceed.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman. Terry Rose.
Supervisor Joe, is that in order?
I believe that is not in order. That's essentially what the board voted on 2 weeks ago and rejected at that time. This would be essentially bringing up the same matter that had already been disposed of by the board.
What? I'm going to pass the gavel to the vice chair. If it were up to me, I would send this to committee, legislative committee in particular, and that's what I would have done in the first place. But I was not allowed to. I need a motion from the floor to do it, so that's my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you were a little hard to hear. You were suggesting that it goes to what committee?
Wait a second, Terry.
You were a little muffled.
Yeah.
Who did you say it should be referred to is my question. You were muffled.
The legislative committee. Are you done talking about it, Jeff? Because you started and then you didn't.
No, actually, we have an amendment on the floor that we need to vote on.
It's out of order.
I'd like to make a motion to appeal the decision by council.
I'll second that.
Corp counsel? Is something like that in order?
The motion to appeal the decision of the chair is in order. It has received a second. It is not debatable and would require a majority vote.
Roll call.
I'm going to need 1 second to get that in. 1 minute, please. And it needs a majority vote, is that correct?
That is correct.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, please state what yes and no mean for everybody, or council or somebody.
just repeat the motion.
No, this is a motion to appeal.
In this instance, a vote to sustain the decision of the chair to find that the motion for a hybrid model of meeting is out of order. You vote aye. If you wish to reverse the decision of the chair, you vote no.
I am ready.
Wait, repeat that again, Joe, so everybody understands that.
Point of information, Court Counsel, are you sure about that? Because I'm appealing it. So is a yes to uphold to agree with the appeal? Because what you said was the opposite way. So I just want to make sure we're clear on it.
I'm reading right from my parliamentary procedure at a glance. I must read, by the way.
Yes.
Those in favor of sustaining the decision of the chair say aye. Those opposed to sustaining the decision of the chair say no. So if you agree with the decision of the chair that the motion is out of order, you vote aye. If you wish to reverse that decision, you vote no.
Okay, everybody understand that now?
The effect of an aye vote would be to sustain the decision of the chair and find the motion for a hybrid model of meetings out of order.
Everybody ready for a vote now? You tell us when you're ready, Sherry.
I'm ready.
Supervisor Grady?
No.
Rose?
No.
Gentz?
No.
Solvery?
No.
No.
Kadicki?
Yes.
Yashki?
Aye.
Rodriguez?
No.
O'Day?
Yes.
Bird?
Aye.
Ron Frederick?
He's having issues. It looks like he voted yes.
He votes yes, yes. Supervisor Frederick?
Yes, yes.
Nudo?
No.
Franco?
Aye.
Boyd Frederick?
Aye.
Mauer? Mauer?
No.
Gully? Supervisor Gully?
Aye.
Rambo?
No.
Yuha? Vice Chair Yuha?
No.
Beth?
No.
Amago?
Aye.
Norgan?
No.
Decker?
No.
Nine yes, 12 no. So the motion to appeal the decision passes. Correct?
Yes, the decision of the chair is appealed and the matter is before the is able to be brought before the board.
Supervisor O'Day, would you like me to reread the amendment?
I didn't hear that.
Chairman O'Day, would you like me to reread the amendment?
I think you should.
Okay. I'd like to amend the motion to allow a hybrid model of committee and board meetings. Those wishing to meet virtually may do so, and those wishing to meet in person may do so. This model will be in place until the end of April, when the board will decide how to proceed.
Second. Supervisor Rose.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Supervisor Rodriguez.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I just want to reiterate what I had mentioned at the last meeting when we discussed this, that this allows for each of us as individuals to make a choice whether we want to attend or not in person, as well as our county staff and constituents or citizens alike, whether they want to attend a meeting or not. I will go out and say I was not in favor of having any type of virtual meeting. It's still not my preference. However, I do want to commend county staff. They had made it work. With something like this, we're going to have tech issues from time to time. By and large, it has worked, so I will make that note. However, I do feel that each of us has an individual right to choose whether we want to attend these meetings in person. And for that reason, I'll be supporting this tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Chairman. Go ahead. Palmville? Supervisor Palmville?
Thank you, Chairman O'Day. My question would be is if we are going to offer the hybrid model, how do we assure that those who are coming to meet in person to listen to the meeting or to do citizens' comments, how do we assure that there is enough space for them to be safely, socially distanced from one another? My only thought is that maybe you need to move it out to the county center and put our meetings now out into the county into a room that's large enough to accommodate, because sometimes we had easily 50 to 80 people that would show up to be a part of these meetings. So if I was to do that, I really feel we need to be responsible. Just heard the health department. We are at record numbers still in the middle of this pandemic, and we need to be responsible to the people who are showing up to these meetings and show that we do care about their well-being as well, to give them the ability to socially distance in these meetings if they're showing up for them.
If that's a motion, I'd second that, to move it out to the county center.
Have you finished, Supervisor Palmville?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Supervisor O'Day, Chairman O'Day.
Yes.
Supervisor Franco.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure what has changed since 2 weeks ago. Supervisor Palmville brought that issue up 2 weeks ago, which I think is an important one. Also, Supervisor Gully brought up a good point 2 weeks ago as well, and that was how do we ensure the safety of Corp Counsel or the clerk, Reggie, or whoever shows up, or the police, etc. They don't have a choice. We may have a choice as supervisors, but there are people who will be forced to be there like them, which is, I still think, a problem. I don't know how that problem can be addressed. Obviously, I mean, I'm willing to hear something, but I don't see what has changed. Those two issues I thought were really pertinent ones that were mentioned 2 weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Rose.
Are you done, Supervisor Franco?
Time being, yeah, thank you.
Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. I think this is a good compromise that's being presented to the board. One of the concerns that I have is it seems that certain people want to make this a partisan issue. It's not. There are Republicans and Democrats and independents on both sides of this issue. And there has been some comments on Facebook, Supervisor Berg, and with others, that somehow this is partisan. It is not. It doesn't do the issue and the board leadership any good to suggest that it is a partisan issue. It's a nonpartisan board.
I think we vote on the issues as we see them, and I would hope that and encourage that would be the way we conduct ourselves in the future as well. The social distancing issue is an issue. It has never really been, we've never really had many people come and comment at our board meetings, with the exception of a few in the summer and the early fall. It has not been an issue. Most of the time we have none or one or two or three, but it has not really been an issue. I think it can be easily policed wherever we locate by just the chairman setting the rule. So many people there, and if we have a problem with too many, they can be exchanged. We can exchange people out who can make their comments if they so choose. I think this issue of too many people and social distancing is not really going to be an issue. And when it is, we can resolve it. It could have been resolved at those meetings where we had a lot of people who were acting in a disorderly fashion. I would say that was our own fault in failing to enforce the rules. But we need to give leadership to the community. Is opening, the country is opening, and we've got to be the first as leaders of this community to follow suit. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Frederick would like to speak.
Go ahead, Ron. Frederick, Supervisor Frederick, go ahead.
The question I would ask is, what does this do to committee meetings? Am I coming through?
Yes.
What does this do to committee meetings?
I believe it included committee meetings also.
I didn't hear that in the resolution. I heard the county board. I didn't hear any committee meetings. That's the problem with this thing, is a resolution, but you don't have anything in front of you, and that was never brought by a committee. Okay? So we're voting on something, but we don't have a complete resolution. Are committees included or not included? If it is, where does it say that?
Chairman, I thought Mr. Gentz had that in his original motion.
Reggie, hold on.
Chairman O'Day, Sean Smith would like to speak. The Director of IT.
Okay, just a second.
Point of order.
I just want to.
I think I still have the floor, Mr.
You do have the floor.
Ron Frederick has the floor, but I want to ask a question to Reggie. Can you read back what the resolution as it was amended or agreed upon that the appeal was sustained? What did that say?
You mean Supervisor Decker's amendment?
Yes.
I don't have the whole thing written down, but the amendment was to allow for a hybrid model for those who wanted it, to those who want to attend in person and those who want to attend virtually until the last meeting in April, I believe.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Ask her to repeat the motion, please.
I can repeat it if you would like.
Thank you.
Read it back again.
Okay, for the third time.
Okay.
Are you ready to read it?
Yeah. To amend the motion to allow a hybrid model of committee and board meetings. Those wishing to meet virtually may do so, and those wishing to meet in person may do so. This model will be in place until the end of April, when the board will decide how to proceed.
Does that answer your question, Supervisor Frederick?
Yes, it does. Yes, it answers my question. I will not be voting for this motion, but if the rest of you vote for it, if you want to. Now, those who want to, who vote for it, are they committing themselves to attending these meetings in person? Or are they going to make choices once in a while and not attend it? I mean, are you committing yourself to something? Are you going to commit to go to those meetings in person?
I don't think that's part of the amendment.
I'm sure it's not. My point is that if you want this to vote for it, that's fine. I will not be there. I will be virtual. But I think that if you're going to commit to this, you ought to commit to going to the meetings in person. And obviously, I can't make you do that, but it seems to me that you want the best of both worlds. You want to have it so you can attend, and if you don't want it, you'll stay home, I guess. So I'm not going to be supporting it. I think it's a bad idea. I was fortunate enough, because I'm 88 years old, to get my first shot, and then I'll be getting my second shot on February 12th. I was also informed that even though I have the vaccine, and which I will have, and it'll go into effect about 4 weeks after my second shot, I can still pass on the virus to someone else, even though I've had the shot. The point is that you're going to go to these meetings. Some of you are going to wear a mask. Some of you aren't. I always wear a mask because I respect every one of you, and I respect that I don't want to give it to you. I haven't seen my grandson in 4 months because I'm afraid to give it to him. I don't have it, obviously, but I'm afraid that I might. So I think this is a bad idea. I think we're putting each other's lives in danger. I mean, how many members of this board have had it? 3 people in this board have had it. One of the spouse had it. And why are we doing this? I mean, this doesn't make any sense. All we have to do is wait till April, and hopefully it will feel comfortable going back then. But I would hope that we would consider each other and not just our own personal thing and not support this motion. Please, let's not do this. Thank you.
Chairman,
Something all day.
So, just a second. So, was that you, Jeff Gentz?
yes, it is.
Supervisor Gentz, go ahead.
Thank you. I would just like to respond to some of the concerns, and this motion isn't made to get people sick or to make people do things they don't want to do. It's the exact opposite. I mean, Supervisor Frederick is certainly able to do it virtually. I mean, the clerk can do it virtually. The corporation counsel can do it. We're doing it virtually now. If a sheriff's deputy has to come and stand way away from everybody, they could do that. The IT person is the only other one we'll need, and they can be considerably back from everybody the way they were before. Plus, IT has somebody that they call in the cloud or something that's monitoring everything. So the way and our constituents. I mean, actually, this benefits those who want to come in person. I don't think we're going to have 50, 80, 100 people like we had over the summer and the fall. There's just not those kind of issues out there. And if you took an average, throwing that out, I don't even think we'd have, it would be one person. So, I mean, and they also have the ability to do their citizens' comments virtually if they're concerned. We had 2 of them tonight. So, I mean, I think this just allows people a choice. It certainly doesn't force people to come in if they don't want to. And I just think this is something that is good for the entire board because everybody gets the freedom of choice. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Chairman O'Day. Supervisor Kubicki.
Supervisor Kubicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will not be supporting this tonight. To maintain the safety of the public, staff, and ourselves, I believe we need to stay virtually. We can relook this situation at the end of April where we initially thought to do so, and therefore I will not support this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Gaske.
Yes. Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments. I will be voting in favor of this motion as amended. I would not have voted for it as it originally appeared on the agenda tonight, but with the hybrid option, I will be voting to support this. Again, this gives people the choice whether they want to attend in person or not. My personal choice, I'm going to continue to attend virtually for the time being. That's just because I'm voting in favor of this, giving other people the option to choose, doesn't mean that I have to attend in person, nor should any of you feel obligated to. Nobody should feel obligated to attend in person if you don't feel like that's the best choice for you or your family, those that you're in close contact with. Just one more point of clarification. The only reason I voted aye in the appeal earlier tonight was simply a procedural matter. It did appear to me that this did go against our rules of parliamentary procedure, but obviously the board thought otherwise. It did pass. This is before us tonight, and because it is before us tonight as amended, again, I will be supporting it. I realize that this is a divided issue, that there are strong feelings on both sides, and so I support you and however you decide to vote tonight. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Chairman O'Day, Supervisor Gully's been trying to speak.
Okay. Supervisor Gully.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From the leads of the support staff, can we, like I keep hearing supervisors saying staff won't have to be there, but I haven't heard a staff lead say that they're not going to have to commit people to being there. So if we're talking about committee meetings, that expands the number of people. So from Mr. Smith, the county clerk, corporate counsel, your staffs have to be present for the board, the county board meeting, or any of the support to support any of the committee meetings or work groups that are meeting. So that question goes to county clerk, corporate counsel, Mr. Smith.
We can go right to Sean Smith if he's available.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Hi.
You want some input?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is I did want to share while it sometimes seems larger, the KCC hearing room is actually significantly smaller than the Human Services common area. We did actually investigate that and got the square footage. So just for your knowledge in this, that room is actually smaller. So as it relates to us attending, we would be expecting that anyone participating from the building would be on their iPad, much as they are now, because in order to get the best experience for a hybrid, we would still need all of the supervisors to appear on a webcam directly instead of just the one somewhat distant webcam. So if that was the case, and we've worked with supervisors and it appears that everyone is able to generally connect, I'm not sure if IT would necessarily need to be on site to support the meeting in that regard. Thank you. County Clerk?
If it is the hybrid model, it seems to me that I would still be able to participate, do my job remotely, as with Sherry.
Okay. And Corporate Counsel, President, got the chair to you. The floor, excuse me.
Joe, you're up next.
Thank you. I guess it would probably be dependent, at least in part, on what the in-person experience is going to be like. Mr. Smith just indicated that his expectation would be that the individuals appearing in person would still be on their devices. If that's the case, then like the clerk, I probably would be able to continue to do it remotely. I think we'd have to make a determination as things move forward as to how effective the various possibilities of participation, whether it had to be in person or virtual, would be.
Does that answer most of the questions, Supervisor Gully?
It does, thank you. The only other comment I'll make is I do think it's a bad precedent that we've set tonight to vote on something, make a decision, and then find a way the next meeting to kind of sneak it back in. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more comment.
Supervisor Frederick, go ahead.
Am I on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The comment I'm making is that we're really just going to have supervisors who want to go to the job center sit in there with their iPads, just like we are at home. And I guess every other staff people are going to be on their iPads. So I guess what we're voting for tonight is the same thing we're doing. I could probably set up at a coffee shop someplace and do the same thing I'm doing here at home, except it's more comfortable at home. Yeah. So I don't really know what we're accomplishing anything, except that some of you are going to have to get in your cars and drive from the West End to the job center to get on your iPad to do exactly what we're doing right now. Does that make any sense? I don't think so. Excuse me, but that's what I'm hearing, thinking. So go ahead if you want to vote. Yes, that's okay. But nothing's going to change. We're just going to keep doing what we are. We're going to be on our iPads, and you're going to be talking to us, and we're going to be talking to you the same way we're doing it right now. So if you want to get in your car from the West End and drive 25 miles there, 25 miles back, when I'm done with this meeting tonight, I'm just going to go in there and watch my TV and have a soda or maybe a midnight snack or something. I don't know, but I don't think we're accomplishing a thing right now. All we're doing is just saying, if you want to go to the job center in person, go ahead. Well, if you want to, go ahead. I'm not going to vote for it, but if you vote for it, I got no qualm with that. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Supervisor Berg has been waiting.
Who's next?
Supervisor Berg has been waiting.
Go ahead.
All right. Question. I got a couple questions. Supervisor Palmerville brought something up. Supervisor Rodriguez seconded it. Was that a motion or was that not a motion?
I don't believe it was a motion.
It was a motion. Okay. So seeing where this is going and knowing that there's an option to do this at home, I'd like to make an amendment to suspend mileage submission for showing up to the job center.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that amendment?
I agree.
So would this be a motion before the amended motion?
It would be amending the motion that has been presented.
With a first and a second already, and amending that motion that also mileage would be suspended. Is that correct?
Correct. We have to take a vote on the amendment.
Do we keep the same motion and second?
Great.
No, Joe, this would have to be voted on separately, right?
If I'm understanding correctly, the motion would be to amend the amendment which was previously made by Supervisor Decker. We have not voted on that amendment yet. So this would be to amend that amendment. That is in order. We would be voting on the question of mileage first. And then if that passed, that would become part of the amendment that Supervisor Decker suggested, which would have to be voted on further down the line. I hesitate to say anything. It's been pointed out to me before. I'm obviously not a member of this board. My job is to advise. I would strongly suggest, and it is only a suggestion, I think we may be at a point where there would be value in having this vetted a little bit further, written up. I think it's getting a little complicated. I say that with all respect to everybody. I obviously can't make a motion. I'm not making a motion, but I think there may be some value now that it's before the board to make sure that we know exactly what the intention is, because I think there may be some different thoughts as to what this means going forward. I will simply point that out as your advisor.
I'll speak on the amendment.
Go ahead.
I take Corporation Counsel's advice to heart in the sense that the more amendments, the more complicated we make this, the less likely it is we are to get to the heart of the matter. So to have this added on at this point, I would not support the amendment. To the amendment. Thank you.
This is Supervisor Rodriguez, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
Thank you. I'm not sure if the maker of the motion would be willing to withdraw the motion, but to clarify things, if we don't codify this as part of the motion, I'd be willing to personally write a check for whichever supervisors decide to come and whatever their mileage is out to the treasurer Kenosha County. I mean, we're talking very minuscule amounts of money here. So if that clarifies things, or I mean, we're talking cents on the mile. I mean, we've all gotten these checks. They're nothing that we take home, run and go out and buy a new TV with. So,
Supervisor Berg?
No, I'm good.
Did you, are you willing to withdraw it? Is that it, or what?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Then the discussion on the amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to speak.
Go ahead, please.
This Supervisor Gentz, I will be voting against this. I don't know. I don't. That almost seems kind of petty. I mean, we see what these checks are and the time we put in. Certainly we're not going to the bank and making a huge living on the county board. And if they have the option to come in person, they choose to meet in person. They should be paid for their mileage. I don't. To dilute this further is just. It seems petty to me, so I won't be supporting that. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman. To the comments that were just made, while that might sound petty, there's an option on the table. It's to do it in person, or there's to do it virtually. When there's an option to do it virtually, why should the board or the taxpayers be responsible for you coming in to the facility and further spread possibly COVID-19 when we know that the vast majority of those that are going to show up are not going to wear a mask? If you'd like me to change my amendment, I can withdraw it and change it to where the amendment will be that anybody that shows up to the job center will wear a mask, and if you don't wear a mask, you're not able to enter the building. I mean, let's talk about pettiness.
You want to change your amendment?
No, I'm fine for right now.
All right. Any other discussion? Nope.
Chairman, call.
Ron?
I'm
okay. Are you done?
Chairman O'Day, Supervisor Franco.
Supervisor Franco.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, this is why 2 weeks ago, my initial statement objection to this was this issue really needs to be in a resolution form. There are too many logistical issues to just vote on this in a motion, and then we're getting into all these amendments on amendments, which is making it more complicated than it needs to be. So I'm going to vote against this.
Nobody made a motion to refer, so.
Roll call.
We ready to vote on it?
Sure.
Anybody?
So we are voting
On the amendment.
On the amendment.
and we are voting to disallow mileage during the hybrid model for committee and board meetings. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then after that, we would vote on the amendment that Supervisor Decker
Correct.
Yes.
decided. Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Roll call vote on Supervisor Berg's amendment.
Brady?
No.
Rose?
No.
Gentz?
No.
Celebrate?
Yes.
Sabicki?
No.
Gasky?
No.
Rodriguez?
No.
O'Day?
Yes.
Bird?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Nudo?
No.
Franco?
Yes.
Boyd Frederick?
Yes.
Mauer?
No.
Gully?
No.
Rambo?
No.
Uhas?
No.
Beth?
No.
Palmaville?
No.
Nordigan?
No.
Supervisor Decker, did you vote?
No, I didn't hear my name called. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Supervisor Decker.
Reggie, no.
Sorry about that.
It did pass. Motion failed.
Mr. Chairman, this is Supervisor Rodriguez.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
I'd like to call a question.
I think.
You had a second too, didn't you?
Yes, Jerry Rose.
All right. You want to take a roll call vote on that?
Oh, just a second, please.
Go ahead. Take your time.
Okay, all set.
Call the question. Supervisor Grady? Rose?
Yes.
Gentz?
Yes.
Celebrate?
Yes.
Kavicki? Kavicki? Can anybody hear him?
Go around and come back.
Gashke?
Aye, yes, call the question.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
O'Day?
Yes.
Burt?
Oh.
Ron Frederick?
Yes.
Newell?
Yes.
Franco? Franco?
I think he said yes.
Yes.
Boyd Frederick?
Yes.
Mauer?
Yes.
Ollie?
Yes.
Wamble?
Yes.
Yuha?
Aye.
Beth?
Yes.
Palmerville?
Yes.
Supervisor Palmerville?
Yes.
Morgan? Morgan?
Yes.
Decker?
He said no.
You said no?
First said no.
Okay. And Supervisor Kavicki?
Yes.
Jerry, do you have the total?
Swing.
2 noes.
Yes, 2 no and 19 yes.
Debate is closed.
Roll call requested.
Now we're voting on the motion made by Supervisor Decker, correct?
It was.
So this is to amend the initial motion. So this is still not a final vote. This is to amend Supervisor Gentz's motion.
And if I could read it back, I have allow a hybrid model of committee and board meetings. Those wishing to meet virtually may do so. Those wishing to meet in person may do so. This model will be in place until the end of April, until the board will decide how to proceed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Grady?
Aye.
Rose?
Aye.
Gentz?
Aye.
Celebrate?
Yes.
Kavicki?
No.
Gashke?
Aye.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
O'Day?
No.
Burt?
No.
Ron Frederick?
No.
Nudo?
Yes.
Franco?
No.
Boyd Frederick?
No.
Mauer?
Yes.
Gully?
Yes.
Wamble?
Yes.
Yuha?
Aye.
Beth?
Yes.
Palmerville?
No.
Nordigan,
Aye.
Decker.
Yes.
6 no.
I have 7 no.
No, it's 6.
Oh, 7 no. Yes, 7 no.
7 no.
Yes, that is correct.
So 14 yes, Sherry?
Yes, that is correct. 14 yes, 7 no.
And so that passes?
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, this is Supervisor Rodriguez again.
Yes. Supervisor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call the question one final time, now that the amendment's been accepted.
Second, Jerry Rose.
Moved and seconded.
Roll call requested.
We can,
Roll call.
all those in favor of calling the question, yes?
Yes.
Any nays?
No.
Who's the one nay? Burke? Supervisor Burke. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Question's been called.
So what are we voting on now? Would you read that back again?
Read the motion back, okay?
The motion as amended.
Sherry, can you read that again, please?
Read it again.
Except that I've gone past it, and so it's not showing on my screen. Supervisor Decker, I apologize. Could you read it again?
Not hers.
Oh.
We got to go back to Jeff's now, all the way back to Jeff.
Oh, okay. Well, I can read that. It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Motion to lift the resolution to meet
Oh, point of order, Mr. Chair.
The resolution is amended.
My amendment passed, so it's not back to Jeff. It's back to
I think it's done. I think it's done.
Supervisor Frederick, we voted to approve my amendment. Now we need to approve
Amended.
This is the last vote, just to clarify for everybody. This is the
Yeah,
last
that's
Joe,
That is correct.
Joe,
Mr. Chairman.
we're back to the original motion as amended now.
Correct. We are at the main motion, which has been amended by Supervisor Decker's amendment. I should advise the board, and I'm going to get ready to duck. It is my opinion that because the original resolution, which suspended the rules to go to a virtual meeting format, only contemplated returning to a full in-person, that moving to a hybrid model, I believe, is a new suspension of the rules, which would require a 2/3 vote of those present.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. We've already voted on that. We overruled your decision. That's his opinion. That's all it is. That was overruled. We're now voting on the main resolution as amended by Supervisor Decker. So I don't think we need to do that once again.
If I may, Supervisor Rose, what was overruled was the question as to whether or not a hybrid model was in order to be considered by this board.
It's the same thing. We've heard your opinion. Let's take
Any other lawyers in the crowd? Christ.
So what we have is maybe not to vote on anything at this point.
No, that is absolutely not what we have.
I would like to appeal the opinion of the chair.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Just a question been called. We were discussing what the motion was. So through the chair to Supervisor Decker, if she could read her motion. This is our last step. She can read the motion, we can vote, and then we're done.
It's passed.
We have one more vote. One procedural.
And that is going to be read. Her motion is going to be part of it.
Correct, and then we're done. So it's
just relax. Just calm down. Go back to Jeff's motion as amended. If the clerk wants to read it all, go right ahead.
I will read the first part of Supervisor Gentz's motion, which was a motion to lift the resolution to meet virtually and go back to meeting in person at KCJC. And if Supervisor Decker would kindly one more time read what passed as her amendment to this motion, I think that is what we are voting on.
Correct. As one whole piece.
As one whole piece, that is correct.
Correct.
Would you like me to read it one more time?
Unless the clerk reads it.
No, if Supervisor Decker could read it, I am beyond that screen that I cannot go back right now.
Okay. To allow a hybrid model of committee and board meetings. Those wishing to meet virtually may do so, and those wishing to meet in person may do so. This model will be in place until the end of April, when the board will decide how to proceed.
Now, does anybody not understand the entire motion?
My only question would be, is it a 2/3 vote?
Pardon me?
Is this a 2/3 vote that's required for this to pass?
I agree.
Joe?
Mr. Chairman, I provided my opinion. I believe this would be a new suspension of the rules, which would require a 2/3 vote.
Mr. Chairman, I don't agree with that.
Mr.
That's
Chairman, the point. We are using the Corporation Council's advice.
That's right.
That we're going to go with a 2/3 vote.
Mr. Chairman, I would like
Move to overrule the decision of the chair. That's way out of line. Way out of line.
Second, Terry.
Would you like to take a vote or not?
Yes, to overrule your ruling.
No.
No, you. That is a valid chart. That is a valid motion that Supervisor Rose made, and I seconded.
Absolutely. But this 2/3 was discussed earlier. You're just at the 11th or 17th.
We are at a point where we're voting on a motion, and the Corporation Council said it was 2/3 vote. That's what it's going to be.
No, we're moving.
No,
You're not correct. He's wrong.
But that may be your opinion, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Well, there's a motion on the
We're going to vote on it or not.
There's a motion on the floor to overrule you, Mr. Chair, which is in order.
It's not. There's no motion on the floor for that.
Supervisor, there is.
The Corporation Council spoke. You're out of order.
Question, Rodriguez. No. Question. Chairman, you're out of order.
We're not debating anything here.
Decision.
This is to overrule you, Mr. Chair. That is always in motion. It is not debatable.
I beg to differ.
It's in order. I'm looking right at our rules and procedures. Ask the Corporation Council if it's okay to do. I'm looking at it right here.
Motion to adjourn in order?
I move we adjourn.
Again.
Roll call requested.
And there's no second to that motion either.
I thought I had a second.
You had a second.
Who, Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Berg.
Who, Mr. Chairman, was the second?
Supervisor Berg was the second.
I asked the chairman.
Take a roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry, just so I'm clear, this is a motion to adjourn,
Yes.
and it needs a simple majority?
For duty.
Yes.
It is.
Is that correct, Corporation Council?
Motion to adjourn requires a simple majority, yes.
Okay, I'm ready for a vote.
Supervisor Grady?
No.
Rose?
No.
Gentz?
Absolutely not.
Celebrate?
No.
Sabicki?
Yes.
Jaschke?
No.
Rodriguez?
Absolutely not.
O'Day?
Yes.
Berg?
Absolutely yes.
Ron Frederick?
Yes.
Nudo?
No.
Franco? Supervisor Franco?
No.
Lloyd Frederick?
Yes.
Mauer?
No.
Gully?
No.
Wambo?
No.
Yuha?
Nay.
Beth? Somerville,
No.
Nordigan,
Nay.
Decker,
You're muted.
Supervisor Decker?
Nay.
Nay.
obviously the motion to adjourn fails.
Failed. 5 yes.
Mr. Chairman, a
motion is amended.
chair.
Let's take a vote on the motion as amended. Period.
There is a motion for Mr. Chairman to overrule you, which is in order and not debatable.
And it's always in order.
Supervisor Beck's been waiting for a while.
Joe. Joe.
The motion to appeal is in order.
What's that, Joe?
Chairman O'Day, this is Supervisor Beth.
But, okay.
This is Supervisor Beth.
I can't hear you.
This is Supervisor Beth. Would it be possible to take a vote on the motion that's being presented, and then corporate counsel can evaluate the votes, and if it is against state law, then we will have to bring it up at the next meeting. But at least could we just take the vote and proceed with this? Thank you.
Right now, there's a motion in order to oppose the two-thirds ruling by the chair. That needs to be voted on. It's not debatable. It's part of our rules, and the Corporation Council just said it's in order. So we need to vote on it.
And may I please hear who made the motion and who seconded it?
I made the motion.
Rodriguez seconded it, I believe.
So Supervisor Decker seconded it.
Supervisor Rose made the motion and Supervisor Decker seconded it.
Okay.
Appeal the chair's decision to follow the guidance of Corporation Council on the suspension of the rules.
All right. Yes.
Any discussion? Ready to vote?
Corporation Council to explain again what a yes vote means and what a no vote means. Thank you.
Those in favor of sustaining the decision of the chair, say aye. That would be to follow my opinion that this requires a two-thirds vote. Those opposed to sustaining the decision of the chair say no. Those would be those believing that it should be a simple majority.
Point of information. Is this particular aspect debatable or not?
No. The motion to appeal is not debatable.
Thank you.
Joe, is it possible to take two votes?
I'm two votes in what capacity?
Simple majority and two-thirds for the same motion. Decide.
I believe it. You just take a vote. I mean.
Okay. Okay.
Are we ready
to vote?
Yep.
We're voting on Supervisor Rose's motion.
Which is what?
Repeat the motion.
Approve the decision of the chair.
Okay, so your motion, if I can, for point of order, your motion is that we don't need a two-thirds vote, and if you vote yes, you're overriding. If you vote no, you're overriding, or if you vote yes, I don't know. I'm sorry.
If you, Supervisor Frederick, if you Corporation Council said sustaining the decision of the chair, meaning to go with the two-thirds vote, you would vote aye.
I got it.
And to oppose the decision would be no. Are you ready?
Yes.
Supervisor Grady?
It's been simple majority all night, so I'll vote no.
Rose?
No.
Gentz?
No.
Celebrate?
Yes.
Sabicki?
Yes.
Dashke?
Yeah.
Rodriguez?
No.
O'Day?
Yes.
Bird?
Yes.
Ron Frederick?
Yes.
Nudo?
No.
Franco?
Yes.
Boyd Frederick?
Yes.
Mauer?
No.
Gully?
Yes.
Rambo?
No.
Yuha?
Oh.
Supervisor Yuha?
Yes.
Beth?
Yeah.
Palmerville?
Yes.
Nordigan?
No.
Decker?
No.
Thank you.
No.
12 yeses. Nine noes. So the chairman's decision is the same.
On the motion, are we ready to vote?
On the original motion, if amended
If
by
amended, are we
Supervisor
ready to
Decker.
vote?
Point of information, how many votes we're going to need to pass?
15. I think we need 14. There's only 21 of us.
14 for 2/3.
We've typically rounded up in those situations, but because I think 2/3 of technically
14 technically.
we have 21 people. Okay, I won't argue the point.
2/3, not.
14 aye votes should do it.
Another question, stupid question. If somebody abstains, how does that vote count?
That vote counts as a no.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Everybody ready?
Grady?
Aye.
Gentz? Supervisor Rose?
Aye.
Gentz?
No.
Sabicki?
No.
Dashke?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
O'Day?
No.
Bird?
No.
Ron Frederick?
No.
Nudo?
Yes.
Franco?
No.
Boyd Frederick?
No.
Mauer?
Yes.
Gully?
Yes.
Rambo?
Yes.
Yuha?
Aye.
Beth?
Yes.
Palmerville?
No.
Nordigan?
Yes.
Decker?
Yes.
What we mentioned.
I'm missing one here.
I have 13 yeses. Is that correct, Sherry?
That is correct.
Thirteen yeses and 8 noes. So the motion
Motion fails
fails.
if it needed 14.
How many yeses?
13 yes, 8 no. And in order for it to pass, it needed 14. Yeses, correct? I don't know, you guys, I'm a little confused.
You got it right.
Okay,
Right.
so the motion fails.
Moving on.
Claim 26, Jim and Peggy O'Connell, vehicle damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the January 19, 2021 minutes by Supervisor Rodriguez.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
I move the January 19th, 2021 minute.
Moved by Supervisor Rodriguez, second by Supervisor Berg. For the minutes, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion to adjourn by Supervisor
Babicki.
Babicki, second by Supervisor Berg. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
After all was said and done, more was said than done.
You're adjourned.